Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bolts and Bats in the Bay. This podcast is brought to you by FL Teams. FL Teams is a top Florida sports source dedicated to providing in-depth analysis and coverage for all Florida sports, including both college and professional sports teams. Remember to go to flteams.com. Hi, everyone. I am your host, Jeff Macolino, and as always, I'm going to give you a run through the weeks or days that were for the Tampa Bay Lightning, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning, and your two-time defending AL East champion Tampa Bay Rays. And today I'm joined by a special guest. The Cranky Fan is here with me to talk all things Lightning and Rays. Welcome to Bolts and Bats in the Bay, man.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. I do a New York Giants podcast. I live in New York, but I am a big Rays and Lightning fan. And all I'm catching is hate mail, hate texts, hate tweets, you name it, from all of my Giant brothers about my passion for the Lightning and the Rays. So I'm glad I can be on friendly turf to talk about our teams. The teams are actually winning.
Yeah, the winning teams. And if you've paid any attention at all, you know that the Lightning won game 3, 4, 5, and 6 to take the Eastern Conference Finals from the New York Rangers. My reaction videos to each game, they'll continue into the Stanley Cup, the Lightning going to the Stanley Cup for the third straight year. And by the way, if you haven't caught the YouTube video of me responding to the Rangers comments to me, they were not very nice to me after the game 1 and game 2. So I responded to them after the Lightning won in 6 games. So that was a fun video to do. I don't think there's any doubt looking at that series that, you know, the whole discussion before the series about rust versus rest. To me, I don't think there was any doubt that rust played a big factor, especially in game 1 of that series, because the Lightning did look pretty slow in game 1, and they were okay in game 2. Also, I said after really from game 3 on, when they switched back to a 12 forward and put Riley Nash in, who played pretty well, I think that made a big difference in the series as well, and kind of upped the team speed and kept the forwards a little fresher. Anything, aside from the usual, did anything really stand out to you in that Eastern Conference Finals?
Oh, I think the rust versus rest. I mean, the rest actually helped us later on in the series. You can definitely tell. Like, it took about 5 periods for Vasilevsky to kind of get his legs. You could see it, and I think I said it about 7 minutes left in the second period of game 2 on. You could see that switch where, okay, the Lightning finally have their sea legs. You know, we weren't on our heels. You weren't seeing, the bad turnovers, the things you were seeing in the final 6 weeks of the regular season. They were gone, and you could see it by the time we got, back to Tampa, and then the Rangers, they were done. They looked exhausted. They played 20 games in 40 days, and, a heroic run by them. I mean, they came back in 3 series and stuff, but when you're doing that against the Lightning and all of a sudden all these games with minimal rest, getting right into it, it's going to wear you down. And you have 2 goalies they could say all they want about who's better. To me, they're 1A, they're 1B. It doesn't matter to me which one is better or not. It's just the Lightning have a championship pedigree, and they have guys that have done there and been there before. And the Rangers have guys that eventually may be there, but not yet. And they don't have the depth that we do. And it showed, and we wore them down.
Yeah. And it was, I personally got great enjoyment out of game 6, both goals being scored by the captain. Steven Stamkos getting his kind of moment, not that he hasn't had moments of glory, but being the star of the game, was
well, it's just kind of, it's one of these things where a couple of years ago, there was real doubts that he was going to stay here. I mean, I would have put my money on him signing with Toronto, but he didn't. And then with the injuries, you're like, is he ever going to be really the same again? And just to see, like, I don't want to say the twilight of his career, we're not quite there yet, but, at this point, it's kind of like Steph Curry in the NBA finals right now, where it's kind of like, it doesn't really mean much for legacy, but it's that nice exclamation point on a career and a legacy with the Lightning. And you want your best players to play well in the most important times. And Kucherov and Stamkos, finally, they're the go-to guys right now. And I don't think the Rangers don't really have that quite yet. Bunch of young guys that are going to be there, but they don't have the guys. And we have, a couple of those guys right now. And not even including Braden Point's not even playing yet.
Yeah, and that's that segues nicely, because Braden Point seemed today from reports from practice that he's skating in every drill, and he, by journalist accounts, looks good. Trying to read the tea leaves with injuries in hockey is a fool's errand, but I think he's probably going to be good to go this series. If not game one, I think he'll be, I think he'll be ready to go Wednesday when the series starts against Colorado. And that is a hit, the boost he will bring to this team, that won game 7 basically without him. The last 2 periods, they swept the Panthers. They won the Ranger series without him. One thing you mentioned, Kucherov and Stamkos and Palat, that line is the only line really scoring. Points for, I'll be interested to see where they put him back in, if he's going to be with Cirelli and Killorn, because Hagel's been kind of holding down that spot that's been our checking line basically. It'll be interesting to see what Cooper, where he inserts him back in the rotation. But regardless of where it is, he's going to bring a huge boost to the team in speed and getting a guy who knows how to score back on the ice.
See, I'm a pessimist. I'm assuming he's out until I see him. They tried last series. He's on the ice a little bit, but even if he's back, you mentioned the speed. Like, let's see. I have to see to believe it. So to me, it'd be fantastic if he is. I think it'll be a real morale boost if he is. He's not the captain, but he's kind of part of the heart and soul of this team. But I'm going into this mentally prepared that we're not going to see him at all, and I'll be pleasantly surprised if we do.
And that's probably a good way to approach it, frankly, because the other factor in there is he might be dressed and ready to go in game 1, and the first period he might tweak. So similar to Steven Stamkos when he appeared in. And I'm so glad he scored a goal in that game against Dallas a couple of years ago in the Stanley Cup.
Right.
That's like it could be a similar thing with Points.
Yeah. Willis Reed goes down in history for the Knicks for coming back with the broken leg. But the fact is he took 2 shots and played 4 minutes. And that was it. So the legend is more than the actual what he did. And I think that's a very similar situation for Lightning fans with Stamkos. But yeah, again, I'm expecting nothing. If he's on the ice for game 1, fantastic. Realistically, plays, what do we have? A 2-day break in between for travel, or 1 day? We're doing every other day all the way through. I am thinking if he plays, he's gonna be back by game 3. That's just my negative crankiness gut feeling.
Hey, that's again, the Lightning showed they can win without him. So, and look, Riley Nash, I give him a lot of credit for stepping in, and he made some play. He made a terrible play in his first game, running into Shesterkin, but game 5 and 6, that fourth line was significant in the when they had shifts. So worst case scenario isn't that bad if he doesn't play. It's still a team that can win a series.
Absolutely.
It would be, I do think they're going to need more than Stamkos, Kucherov, and Palat scoring goals, though, if they're going to, that Hagel, Killorn, Cirelli line. It's amazing. It seems like they never have the puck not in the offensive zone. Hagel drives me insane because he scored a lot of goals with Chicago. I don't watch Chicago play regularly.
Why not?
But it seems like he has no finishing, no killer instinct to get it seems like he's always in golden position to score. He never, he got the empty net goal, which was, he was in the right position then too, I guess, but there was no goalie to stop him. But it seems like he's getting set up a lot and just, he can't put it in. And I don't even know. I'm not even saying it's his fault. That line though, obviously controlling the puck for, an entire shift, which they basically do in the offensive zone, is great. It's just, God, I'd like to see him score.
Let's be a little fair too. You're going up against a stone goalie in Igor. He was, the majority of the goals we scored were just 30-foot slappers or something. It wasn't like every time we had a breakaway or something, he stoned him. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to give a little bit of the doubt to these guys because they went up against a really, really hot goalie who the only time we were able to do anything was just unexpected, outside shots. So.
Yeah. Well, the irony is the goals he gave up in game 6, he saved so many that he had no business saving. And the 2 he gave up, it's like, probably should have stopped. You close your glove, you stop the second one.
Stammer's leg the one off Stammer's leg was a little wonky. That's just
kinda, the first one.
But the first one, really.
I don't know if he was caught by surprise. It was kind of like the Rangers goal in game 5, I think it was, where it seemed like Vasi just wasn't like, oops, I wasn't expecting that.
Right.
So maybe that's what it was. It was similar, though, to, I feel like it was very similar to his goal, Stamkos's goal against the Stars that we were just mentioning. Just kind of I'm just going to shoot and try to stop it.
Right.
So the Lightning get back on the ice Wednesday, June 15th. This, like every series, it starts on the road in Colorado. Then they get a couple days off and play on Saturday, the 18th, game 2. Game 3 is Monday back here in Tampa. Wednesday, game 4. And if necessary, they go Friday, Sunday, Tuesday for 5, 6, and 7. It'll be interesting. I don't think fatigue is going to play a role with the Lightning like it did with the Rangers, which I think you're right. You could see their legs were worn down. But Colorado might have to deal with some of that rust in game 1, I would think, because they've had, after sweeping Edmonton, they've had a lot of time off before game 1. I think it's going to be more than a week for them. To me, that screams, boy, the Lightning need to start fast in this series. In game 1, that might be a good opportunity to get that, steal that game on the road that you need.
Here's my concern. What's the nickname of Denver?
The Mile High City?
Exactly. Altitude of 5280, something. And my little concern, it's easy to say, well, the Lightning had a week off rest. They were rusty, so the same happened to the Avalanche. We got to adjust to altitude. And, how much is that going to offset their rustiness with us, having our legs for 60 minutes or longer if it goes to overtime or something. So keep an eye out for that. Watch the shifts, watch what happens in the second, third period. I mean, hopefully they flew out as soon as possible out to Colorado to get acclimated as much as they can. But that is something that is a little bit of a concern for me early on. And then once we get into that routine and we're going back and forth, Tampa, Colorado, I think we'll be okay. But I think that initial thing, just watching that first, game to 4 periods and see how we handle that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Something I hadn't thought of. I thought you were going to say you were afraid the players were going to get stoned or something, but different.
Hey, look, we'll smoke weed out there and those guys can come to Mons and then come to Tampa. I think those are offsetting fouls right there.
Good trade-off. Yeah. So, hey, stay tuned to FL Teams. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go over there and do that. I'll keep doing the reaction videos. They're short, about 5 minutes. Usually they're up on YouTube before Bally Sports even starts their local post-game show. So check those out if you are a fan of the Lightning. Another exciting playoff run underway. Hey, let's shift over to the Rays.
Please.
It's been a while for if you rely on bolts and bats in the Bay, I think it's been like 2 weeks since you've heard about the Rays. And
if you rely on my Twitter account, you think we're 0-162. So let's
right.
Let's keep it real now.
So the healthy middle is basically what the Rays do, which is basically they send you on an emotional roller coaster. They drop the first 2 games in Texas. They win the next 2 games in Texas. They win the first game. Shane McClanahan it seems like anytime McClanahan takes the mound, you kind of just assume the Rays are going to win. That's how good he's going right now. Win that first game against Chicago, you feel good, and then they lose the last 2 games that weekend against Chicago. Come back home at Tropicana Field, sweep the Cardinals, which was delightful. Go to Minnesota. Game on Apple TV that you can't even watch against the Twins is ugly, 9-4.
You know something? If you don't have Apple TV and you're missing out on Katie Nolan doing games, you're not missing anything. So it's probably a blessing in disguise.
Well, yeah, missing out on a 9-4 loss isn't bad. Saturday, disappointing game as well, dropping that one 6-5 to the Twins. So it's just, and then Sunday, of course, a 6-0, a beautiful, nice game. It's been a range of emotions with our starting pitchers and with our injured list. Of note is Shane Boz came back, looked okay until what was it, the third inning, the fourth inning, whatever it was. The final numbers don't look good, but that was mostly one inning. He ran into problems, and hopefully, he's a young kid.
He lost control of his fastball. He lost control of his fastball, and everything was up, 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 up. He walked a couple of guys, and then the grand slam. And when you're a rookie, you don't have that that guile to kind of dig deep, and he was lost. So that was that. But something he has to pitch, and yeah. I mean, this team, if you just look, we just have to tread water until we get healthy. And that's gonna be the problem. And the difference between a team like us with our payroll and a team like, the Yankees or other high pay payroll is when you get the starting nine can compete with anybody, but as soon as you have to dig, who's our bench? It's a bunch of 4A guys who aren't proven, like Vidal, guys like Taylor Walls who really can't hit the major league level. Brett Phillips can't hit the major league level consistently. And when you can give these guys a spell and play once in a while, it's fine. But when they have to play every day and 40% of your lineup are these guys, it's going to be a struggle. And then, your top three relievers are gone. It's going to be a struggle. You have guys who shouldn't be on major league rosters, and we got to fight through it now. Yeah. And the most depressing thing was Andrew Kittredge came back off the injured list. Did not look good. You just tell something's been off with him. And I believe the news is he's done for the year. John. Yeah, Tommy John. So probably for next year also, unfortunately for Kittredge, who was an all-star last year. Also problematic, JP Fireeisen, who was our best bullpen pitcher this year, is on the injured list. Hopefully that's not a long-term thing. He should be back by close to the weekend, I think. I mean, I think he went on June 3rd. Yeah. So he should. I think he's eligible basically tomorrow, or maybe even today, 5 more days. He's on the 15. Yeah, 15. So and Mike Zunino also on the injured list. Yeah, again, he's a guy you could tell by his playing time that it seemed like something was maybe wrong with him, even though I offensively, I think he's been just as bad lately as he's been all season. He's Gianni Navarro, where a guy who just can't hit has that 1 year out of nowhere hits and then goes back to what he was. So, I mean, he's on this team because of the way he handles the staff and his framing of pitches and all of those things. He's not here to be a 280 hitter. He's here to have, and unfortunately, this team doesn't hit home runs. So the 25 to 30 he hit last year, kind of counting on, and we're not getting it. No, and he's out. Brandon Lau also, that's the other power guy. If you talk about being pessimistic about injuries, that injury where it's just back pain, with no real describable specific injury, that scares me. Like me. You're talking to a guy who I was 25. I had back surgery, so, and there was no accident or anything. It was just bad genes. Get old. and Lau's over 25 years old, so it scares me when you hear something like that. But really, I mean, I've got the numbers pulled up, as you could see, just looking at these offensive numbers. It's amazing. You're talking about a team with a winning record. Manuel Margot, he's having a good year. Randy Arozarena, I want to jump to him because he looks like he's coming around to me. He's tied with the great power hitter Kevin Kiermaier for the team lead with 7 home runs. I mean, Randy is BJ Upton 2.0. I mean, he's a guy, when he is hot, he's the hottest hitter in baseball. And when he's bad, he's awful. He shakes your head when he's running bases, when he's out in the field sometimes. I mean, that's basically what it is. He's another BJ. Fortunately, he gets hot at the right times. September, October is when he's, he's locked in. So kind of like how BJ was as well.
Right. Yeah. BJ Upton 08 playoffs was locked in as you get.
Oh yeah, God. And and Randy in 2020 was historic.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, and he in June, I mean it's 11 games, but he's a 302 average, 362 on base, 605 slugging.
yeah.
He's stealing bases. He's now hitting home runs. He went a long time without hitting a homer to start the season.
Well, this lineup's always going to be a sum greater than its parts. I mean, even with Wander, even with Lau, when you're never going to see, even until Wander, I mean, he's still only played 100 games in his career, and now he's injured and everything. We don't know what kind of hitter he's ultimately going to be. We have all potential. We're all excited about him, but is he ever going to become a 30 home run hitter? Maybe. I mean,
possibly.
I mean, even I think of like when Evan Longoria came up, we were all excited about what this guy was. He was, a 25 to 30 homer guy. It's going to be batting average, on base percentage. And that's when we knew something was up with Wander, when all of a sudden that eye he had kind of went away. And he started getting anxious. He started expanding his zone, started doing things that, weren't like what we saw in the beginning. So we knew something, he was pressing for something. And then, it was obvious there was something wrong with some sort of injury that he was hiding. So he just has to, this team we have to tread water. I mean, we just have to, don't worry about the Yankees. Don't even worry about standings right now. You've got to get to like 92 wins to make the playoffs. And with a third team in the wild card, and not with a one game take all scenario anymore, it'd be nice to win a division and not to play extra series, but get healthy for September, win 92 games, and we'll worry about it then.
Yeah, and that's to the Rays' credit, as their lineup, the bottom half of their lineup is embarrassing, and I'm not blaming them for that. It's bad luck with injuries and obviously salary constraints. But again, looking at just this past week, they went 4-2. You're frustrated as hell a couple games against the Twins, but 4-2, you keep doing that. That's a great that's a great season.
You win 3 out of 4 series, you're going to be in great shape. That's the real. I mean, even if we'll win 2 out of 3 games. Well, if you're playing 667 ball, you're going to win 120 games or something. So that's not realistic. It's win 3 out of 4 series and never get swept, and never ever ever get swept to a division team.
Yeah,
you do those things, we'll be fine.
Yeah, it's the 4-game series. Split them. Win 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 of your 3-game series. You're golden. And you're right. Yeah, just don't get swept. And this week, I think this is an important week, kind of. Sure. It's a 6-game road trip, not terribly long, not oppressive travel, but they go to New York to face the Yankees. Some juicy pitching matchups in there. I even like the Kluber-Cole matchup in the first game. And obviously McClanahan and Cortez in the second game. Drew Rasmussen struggling a little bit lately. We'll see. He's up third. Then Baltimore, where last time they were in Baltimore, I was not a happy camper. That was probably the most frustrated I've been all season. They just no business blowing the games the way that they did.
Biggest problem this team has been this year has been late inning bullpen. I mean, really, if you think about it, the games they've lost, look, 8th inning, 9th inning, extra innings. The bullpen has not been good. And we can't say, well, it's just injuries, because, Kitteridge, before he went down the first time, he wasn't good. And then, Kevin Cash, who will have a lot of bones to pick, continues to have guys like Matt Whistler in high leverage spots who are not high leverage pitchers. I don't need to see him. I don't need to see
Ryan Thompson this year.
Ryan Thompson, exactly. I don't need to see him in high leverage spots. These guys are not 8th, 9th inning guys, and for some reason, you just trust them. And I don't need cement mixing sliders every pitch from Matt Whistler. It's a recipe for disaster in high leverage spots. Yeah,
no, I have a real problem with Matt Whistler, and I mean, I've got his numbers pulled up, and on the surface, you'd say, oh, these are pretty good, but watching him pitch it's painful to me. He has one pitch, and it's not that good. Yeah,
it's not Ron Guidry, it's not Steve Carlton, guys. It's a guy that just spins it, and when he's off, it's game over. It's
Yeah.
not, you need a guy late innings and high leverage spots who at any point can get a strikeout.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel that with him. I know he's got 24 strikeouts, but it just doesn't seem like he's a guy I trust to get a strikeout. It's first and third and one out and you need a K.
Yeah, it seems like he does pick up some strikeouts, but it does seem like it's
everybody strikes out people. It's the question is, can you
exactly.
get it?
It's not a that's I think the thing that bothers me. His best slider is not a nasty slider. It's just a pitch that curves a little bit.
It's a cement mixer. Just
it's kudos to him for making it to the majors with just that pitch. And again, he's successful, but I'd rather him be a guy pitching a few innings in a blowout game.
He was DFA'd by the Giants last year, and we picked him off the scrap heap. This wasn't a guy this wasn't a trade. This wasn't a free agent signing. This was a guy that was just out there, and we just picked up. I mean, again, everybody kind of falls down the thing when you have, JP is gone, Kit Rich is on. It's like, but now that we're starting to get a little healthy, hopefully, I don't want to see him in high leverage spots in September and October.
No, well, yeah, when Fireisen comes back, I mean, Poche has been mostly good. Jalen Beeks has been very solid, and Jason Adam has been, if not for JP Fireisen's start, we'd be talking about Jason Adam saving the bullpen. So we've got some arms. But yeah, I do get frustrated sometimes with some of these high leverage. I mean, Ryan Thompson, he's had his moments with the team, but this year
where the ball's going.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not working anymore. He's not fooling anybody. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets DFA'd in the in the near future.
Well, we've seen it every year with the Rays for the last, really since they've been good, where the bullpen you see in October is not the bullpen you see in April, May, and June.
Right.
There's always going to be, again, like a pickup, like a guy they got Whistler last year. There'll be a call up from Durham. There'll be a trade. There'll be something. I wouldn't count on the trade market this year because now with the third wild card, more teams are going to be in it and think they have a shot. So unless you are out of it, and really you're picking the bones from teams that are out of it, I wouldn't count on that so much. But the Rays have always had an ability of, if you don't like a starting pitcher or you don't like the bullpen, it gets sorted out by the end of the year. Until we're proven wrong, I'm gonna trust this front office. Although this front office, if you look at the deals they've made over the last 6-7 years, is not the automatic like you think it is. For every great move they make, there's an all-star team out there of guys who've done better since they leave here. So
yeah, no, it's there are ups and downs. The bullpen is usually where I trust them the most. And just to quickly jump to the standings, the Rays are in third in the AL East. Nobody's catching the Yankees. I mean, they're due for a slump at some point.
Well, no, what they're due for is the injury bug, and it happens to them every single year. Stanton already went on the shelf once already. Judge hasn't had that pulled hammy yet. They've been incredibly healthy, and they're getting starting pitching from guys that are not that good. So they've had a pretty soft schedule lately. They have to play the Rays. They have the Red Sox coming up. They have Toronto coming up as well. So, something, they're up 6.5, whatever they're up right now. That's fine. They still have to prove it to me over 162. And in a short series, we've seen it every year with them.
Yeah.
Their team strikes out a lot. And you're not facing Baltimore's bullpen
on the postseason. Well, Cranky Fan, thank you so much for joining me. We'll wrap this one up, but I'm sure we will talk again in the future. Real quick, where do you want people to go to find you?
Sure. You can find me on Twitter, as always, at the Cranky Fan. I am, for you guys, I am a big Rays and Lightning fan. I also co-host a New York Giants podcast, the Just Giants Pod, with myself and the Football Grump. We talk about the New York Giants twice a week in the regular season, once a week this time of year. A lot of crossover with, me getting in arguments with all my Giant brothers about especially around the Lightning right now, and Yankees Rays is always a big topic. But yeah, check me out at the Cranky Fan on Twitter, and Rays and Lightning whenever I can with you guys.
Perfect. Well, so that'll do it for Bolts and Bats in the Bay. Pete Fleet, easy for me to say. Please remember to follow FL Teams on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to FL Teams podcast and the YouTube channel for my reaction videos after every Lightning game. And go to flteams.com to stay updated on all your Florida sports news and coverage. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye, everybody.